In this video we're going to discuss some coping strategies when you've got to fetch large amounts of data from the server and display them in either a mobile list or a repeater container. Just to quickly start you off by showing these things in action, here we've got data being paged from the server, being paged forward and backward. And we've also got on the second page of our app, forgive the lack of page navigation, a repeater container where we're taking a slightly different strategy for displaying large amounts of data. So let's go and look at those in a bit more detail. We'll start off with our mobile list example. In this particular case, it's connected to a data view. That's discussed in more detail in the integration section. And when I press the next button, it's going to fetch more data. First thing is to show you is to determine how many rows of data get displayed in one go. That's the elements per page property. So set that to the any value you like. With mobile lists, they're pretty efficient, so you can afford to set that quite high. They're not that slow, whereas repeaters can be a little bit slower. So we set that to 5, and then we've got an event on the next button. And here you can see we're using the fetch data page function. This allows you to specify, well, I'll go and show you the user guide. Here's fetch data page, and we can specify either a page number or a text string, as we've done in our example here. So we're fetching the next page, or if you press the previous button, the previous page of data from the server. So that's all pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at the repeater, where we've got a different strategy. With repeaters, the problem that we have is that for each row in a repeater, it has to create dynamically the widgets, and that can be, particularly on a mobile device, that can take a little bit of time. So rather than displaying 100 rows of data, for example, better to break it down into small chunks. Maybe in my example I'm just using 3, but you can find a number that you're happy with. And then we use the more button to display further rows of data. Now the first thing that's really important to stress is in pretty well all situations, you want to set the fast draw property, that's this one here, to true. That means it won't display certain types of HTML formatted contents very well, but in most cases in repeaters you won't be needing to do that. So set fast draw to true, and that will automatically give you a speed improvement. The next thing, well, let's just take another look. We're displaying 3 rows of data, and then another 3 and another 3 and so on. Now in the background what we're doing is we're actually fetching all of our data in one go. Obviously you can page that, manage that separately, but in this example we've just set up a simple page show script which generates us an array of data with just line 1 and counting upwards. And we use the populate widget command to populate that into the repeater container. Now in this case it's getting 30 rows of data, and all 30 rows of data will be passed or processed by application craft. But it will only display 3 at a time, and that's controlled by, let me go back to the properties, the elements per page property as well. So that's set to 3. So we've passed in 30, but it will only display 3 at a time. And the way we then get additional records, if we go and look at the code behind that event, is we simply call the draw next page method. And that simply asks application craft to look, is there any more data that hasn't yet been displayed? If there is, it goes and gets it and out of the array which has been stored as a temporary array, and it populates it. That also returns a value, draw next page, and as you can see here, it returns true if there's more data available, false if it's got all of the data out of it. So hopefully that gives you some good coping strategies for displaying large amounts of data in lists and repeater containers.